Do me right here. What's up, family? This is your man, not your boy, bringing you another gold nugget that you can either pick up or you can just kick it aside. Hey, I am thankful here today to have my brother back again, the world's infamous author, movie maker, and everything else we can throw with it. He's a world traveler, especially in Africa. He's a scholar in knowing who our history is, who the Israelites are, and knowing all the tribes that make up the Bantu or Niger Congo family. He has a plethora of information, wisdom, and knowledge, and to educate us in what we lack the knowledge and experience in, only based because he has challenged himself to go far and beyond than most people would in the Bible, as well as other documents and sources out there that we may not be privy to. So I want to welcome our guest, Ron Dalton, who has gone through a lot of trials and tribulations because of his movie that he put out, Hebrews and Negroes. And he's on his third movie that he has just released. But um, we are going to get into other things as well that it's been challenging in his life. You know, he's hasn't had not one person on mainstream media who really wanted to interview him and get his side to take of the story. And many have rejected him, of our own people in the media, afraid to even bring forth the truths that are at the surface and what has actually unraveled in the last 3 to 5 years in many of us being part of the 12 tribes of Israel. So without further ado, let me bring Ron in here and let's give him a warm welcome hand. Hold 1 second. All righty. Ron Dalton, what's up, my brother?
Hey, what's up, Shalom? I'm glad to be here.
Shalom, shalom, shalom. Yes. Man, you know, me and you have been talking off and on. You've been keeping me abreast of a lot of things going on with you. And also, I've been picking your brain, asking you many questions, man, on things that I just needed to be aware of, things dealing with Africa, the tribes, the history. And you just blow my mind every time, man, when we get in conversations or I watch some of your other videos that people interview you, that how much knowledge you really hold. I don't think you really get the credit that you really deserve, but I think behind the scenes there are many people who watch. I'm quite sure you probably already know many people have purchased your movies as well as on different platforms, and so you know I I'm thankful that the work that you have put in has definitely been able to take care of you and your family. How many children do you have, man?
Nine children.
Nine
Nine,
children. All praises to the Most High, man. That's awesome. That's
like
awesome.
Abraham.
Yes. Huh?
Like Abraham.
Yeah. Hey, man. Hey, that's what we for, man. To push out them children, man. Put them out there and stuff. The So let's start with you. Let you go ahead and maybe tell what's been going on recently with you and whatever we may not know about, and maybe some projects. But let's just start with yeah, what you got going on right now.
so I just released the third volume of the trilogy, Hebrews to Negroes 3. And the third volume is subtitled Gog and Magog's Army versus the Israelites. And that is a highly controversial movie that covers the biblical players in the prophecy of Ezekiel 38, where it talks about Magog and Gomer and Meshach and Tubal and Togarmah and Persia and Cush and Put, and how these nations are going to amass an alliance and an army, and their objective is to steal, to plunder, to loot, to exploit, and to also wage war against the Israelites in the true land of Israel. So basically, we have to notice that this prophecy is a real prophecy. And if we can identify who these nations are and where are they today, actually plundering, looting, stealing, and exploiting the land of the Israelites and all the possessions that they have inherited when they took the land of Canaan, then this should give us a strong insight into who we are as a people and where the true land of Canaan is. And the land of Canaan, of course, is also synonymous with the land of the Israelites, God's chosen people.
Yeah, hey, I'm glad that you share that information because I mean, there's some questions that I'm going to ask on that because a lot of people don't know. I'm gonna tell you, I didn't stumble on the truth until I went to Africa. Until I started getting out and started talking to locals, started to speak to those who started to say, yeah, we're part of the 12 tribes, and was like, what are you talking about? And then when I started to venture out into the east of Africa, because the west of Africa was more of the slave history and stuff like that. When I got over to West Africa, got into Ethiopia, and then I started to realize that their Bible was kind of not like ours. Some aspects of it, they tell their different story, and I didn't even know there were different groups of Ethiopians. You have those who will separate themselves and say, no, we are the Israelites and they're the ones they're not. Or, I didn't know that even the Bantu, languages or existed. And then I started doing further search when I was over in Tanzania, finding out there were some tribes over there, which sent me down further went into Zimbabwe and all the places there, coming into the Limba tribe. Then I was in Nigeria, coming to the Gad tribe, and with the Igbo people. And so, yeah, man, I mean, so much information, man. I've become a believer, man, knowing that even through the slave history with the letters, the books that the Europeans left behind, showing that these maps and stuff, that where we actually existed and we got caught up in the slave trade. Facts, and you can't get around it. So you're on dealing with your project, with your movie and all that, right? Just share a little bit why this movie at this point in time. What are you trying to convey to us?
Okay, so if you look at the history of the old Roman Empire, the old Roman Empire were the descendants of Greco-Romans. In the Bible, we see the son of Japhet named Javan, and he had a son named Kittim. Kittim. So a lot of people will associate those people with the Greeks and the Romans. However, there are other children of Japhet. Japhet had 7 children. Out of the 7 children, there are other children that are implicated in this Battle of Armageddon army. And if we can identify Madai, or the progenitor of the Medes Persian, if we can identify Magog and Meshach and Gomer and Tubal, even Togarmah, the son of Gomer, we can start to look at the biblical prophecy of Ezekiel 38 and understand in the future, where is the true land of Israel going to be, or where is it at? I mean, today. And then, because the biblical battle for Armageddon is supposed to happen in the land of the Israelites in Jerusalem. And whether you want to call it the valley of Jehoshaphat, the valley where Yahweh will judge the nations for parting his land and dispersing his people, or selling his people. It talks about a boy for wine, a harlot, and all that stuff. We have to look at all these things and analyze that right now, today, the nations of like Russia, they're not Greco-Romans. The people that are in Eastern Western Europe, a lot of what happened in Eastern Western Europe, they were conquered by Germanic tribes. Germanic tribes. So if we look at the history of the Angles and the Saxons and the Jutes, and the Normandy invasion, the Ostrogoths, the Visigoths, the Vandals, the Suebi, the Alans, and even the
Yep.
Huns, all of these tribes were Germanic tribes. So these were the new face of the old Holy Roman Empire. And if you understand these other Japhetic language speakers, like Celtic, Germanic, Slavic, Turkic, then you'll start to understand that, hey, these are not Greco-Roman speakers here. These are other children of Japhet. They're speaking another Japhetic language that are now tied to the other sons of Japhet that in Ezekiel 38 are going to come to the true land of the Israelites in the last days and battle the Israelites, battle against the Israelites. So in reality, if we know where these nations are coming to do exactly what it says in Ezekiel 38: plunder, loot, spoil the gold, the silver, the livestock, the cattle, the land, all the possessions that the Israelites have. Then you should start to say, wait a minute, all these other nations like the European Union, the West, United States of America, France, Germany, Portugal, Spain, England, even Russia and China, East India, and the Arabs and the Jews. He said, where are they all exploiting and stealing and plundering? Where are they getting the minerals from? Where are they getting the coltan, the copper? Where are they getting the aluminum? Where are they getting the gold, the silver? Where are they getting the diamonds? Where are they getting all this stuff from? It's in Africa. It's in sub-Saharan Africa.
Yeah.
And I looked at a video today from a brother from Angola and Congo, and he even says that Paul Kagame, the president of Rwanda, he even has said that all the minerals that come out of the Congo that flow through his country go to destinations. He said, what destinations? He said United States, he said Russia, and he said a lot of countries. He said, you guys are not paying attention to the destination of where these minerals are going to once they leave the Congo, because then lies your answer of who's taking all these resources out of the Congo.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. So the interesting thing with that is that, you know, if this Armageddon is supposed to happen, we know that the Western world is not going up against where Israel is today. Correct. We know that that's their brother, that's their cousin, that's their close, distant business partner that they, you know, they pump billions of dollars in that country every year. And so, you know, you're right. Scripture shows opposite of that. And we need to wake up to realize that maybe we've been lied to, because we already know the truth that Israel was made in 1948. We know the history in 1918, 1919, when, you know, even before that, 1896, I think it was, when they were really talking about they being the Jewish people were wanting to get their own land. Interesting enough, their eyesights, their first came to mind, I forget the guy's name, who was the so-called Zionist, the Zionist leader who started the Zionist.
Theodor Herzl.
Herzl, yeah, that he wanted to land in Uganda / Kenya area. That's where they wanted to make the land of Israel in its rightful prospective place in the land of what we would call the milk and honey. Yes. So you're right. I mean, scriptures show that. Why would they war over an area where there's nothing being taken out of no land of Israel today? Everything's being taken out of the Congo area, which recently they just burned down a U.S. Embassy and France embassy, and actually they are upset because Paul Kagame, his rebels and all that right there, are being funded or being given weapons by the West. So they didn't like that deal that they're doing. So yeah, I just saw that the other day.
Well, even this, watch this. The movie Black Panther, in the comic book and in the movie, they give you the coordinates of Wakanda, and the coordinates lines up to Goma, depending on if you do north to south with the latitude, or the Ituri Forest in the Congo, northeast Congo. And you know, when you look at the map of Wakanda in the comic book, Wakanda consists of different provinces. And west of Lake Nyanza is Lake Victoria. West of Lake Nyanza in Wakanda, past these lakes and these rivers, is the province called Canaan, and below that is the province called Azania, and below that to the east is a province called Naganda. And it's interesting because in the comic book Black Panther, there's a guy named Moses Magnum, and he stages the coup, and the coup takes over the province of Canaan and Wakanda. Once he stages the coup and takes over Wakanda, he says, hey, everybody, all African Americans, that African diaspora, if you want to come back home to Canaan and Wakanda, then you can come home. Everybody gets free citizenship. We can build this country to the way we need to be. Let's go. And the African Americans say, no. Our blood, sweat, and tears of our ancestors are here in America. We're not going anywhere. And Moses Magnum was like, what? And so when he's trying to get the African Americans to come to Wakanda in the province called Canaan, Then T'Challa finds out, and then he gets all the other people on his side to fight Moses Magnum and to oust him from his coup leadership. This is in the comic book. Yes, it's
Wow.
true.
Wow. Yeah, man. You know, the truth is all around us, man. It's just we got to know where to look and listen, because there's a lot of revelation out here really to show us, man, what really, you know, our story is, what our story really is about. And I know we've relied so much, man, on our we would say enemy or oppressors because of the fact that they wrote all the books, they burned ours, destroyed ours, and yet we're only left with their story. And it's good to see sometimes when we have just these small excerpts of movies or shows that give you just a little bit of information where you take it and you got to research it out. It reminds me, man, of when the um, what's it the old show back in the day, James Evans, Good Times, and when they had the episode when they had she had the white Jesus on the wall, and then
Yep.
and then JJ he painted black Jesus,
Yep.
and so when the mother was she was very adamant in not taking down that white Jesus. That white Jesus been in this family for years. I ain't taking that white Jesus down. And Michael says, "But mom, in the Bible it says Jesus is black, right?"
Yes.
Says that. So here's the catchy part about that. I don't know if you saw the episode or not. They didn't read the whole scripture fully. They stopped at his hair was white, his head and his hair were white like wool. But they didn't have him continue to say his feet was a bronze as it was burned in the oven.
Yeah.
They didn't even let him. They didn't put that in script. But
Yes.
it's up to you to take that bit to go look up to see. Wow, didn't know that even his hair was head and white were like wool. So there's so much information out here that a lot of us, we are just, I must say that we don't like reading. We don't like researching. We just like, especially today's age, it's just a microwavable, quick, instant try to get information. You can blame TikTok, which means TikTok 1 second, you get information. You
Yes.
get Instagram, which is instant, and it's breaking down people's attention spans. And now, I mean, I put out this right here is going to be about an hour and a half long video, and the analytics of YouTube is going to tell me the average person is going to watch this for 7 to 10 minutes. That's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So all my videos over 10 minutes, 20 minutes. They're averaging, man, 6, 7 minutes. That's it. That is it. So anyway, man, since you touched on it, let's get into it. Um, Give us some information on where this Jerusalem is.
Okay.
Any
So
specific location? I know we talked about the Congo and all, but any specific and please share with us who you get it from, where you get it from, and when did it come from?
okay. So in the Bible, Jerusalem is surrounded by mountains, and it is a land of mountains and hills and rivers and valleys and lakes. And one of the key things, if you look at the mountain ranges or mountain belts, because mountain belts make up the ranges, and there are specific mountain ranges that encompass the eastern Congo, Uganda, the western part of Kenya, Tanzania, even part of Rwanda, in a circle, in a circuit, and people have to understand that these mountain belts are in a circle, not in a cluster altogether like in Western Ethiopia. And when you look at the word Jerusalem, that word is a combination of two words, Yira and Salem. Yira means God will provide or Yah provides. And then Salem is peace or rest. And so basically, the word Jerusalem in the Hebrew tongue or the Bantu tongue means a land or a territory where Yah will provide peace and rest and security and safety. And what natural place on earth would have an area where the boundaries, the outer boundaries of Jerusalem is the mountains, not a brick wall, not an electric fence, but mountains. And when you look at this, you have to ask yourself also that the Bible said that Jerusalem is in the center of the earth or the nations. Um, and this is in Ezekiel twice. When you look at the first meridian line, not the prime meridian line. The Gentiles had a meeting, and they didn't have no Africans there, and they determined the meridian line was going to be here, and it cuts to Ghana going into the Atlantic Ocean. The Europeans changed this meridian line more than once, but the first meridian line, recorded by the ancient Egyptians and the ancient Cushites, and even the ancient Israelites knew this. They said it was around the 31st east latitude and 0 degree latitude, and then 31 degree east longitude. So when you look at these coordinates on the earth, you will see that it brings you back to an area where the Rwenzori Mountains are, where you see the Rwenzori Mountains kind of encompass the eastern region of the Congo and then also Uganda. So the true center of the earth with the first meridian line that flows down the course of the Nile River. It's in line with the Nile River all the way down past the pyramids of Meroe and Sudan, all the way down into where it intersects the equator is 0 degree latitude, right smack dab in this Congo Uganda area. Similar to where you see Lake Edward, Lake George, Lake Kivu, Lake Albert, Lake Tanganyika, Rwanda, Burundi, Goma, Congo. This whole little area where on the Google Earth images you see that this is the most greenest forested bountiful area with fish and biological animals and ecosystems on the planet Earth. And we know that the Nile River comes out of this region, and the Nile River flows from the Garden of Eden. And the Bible says that this land is like the Garden of Eden. When Abraham looked at the land of Canaan, he said it was a well-watered land, like the Garden of Eden. And we know that these things, that we look at the water table, we look at all the river systems in the Congo, Uganda, Central African area, the precipitation, the waterfall, and the aquifers that they have underneath the ground, and the rivers that come through the valleys, through the mountains, are all in this West African, East African Rift Valley, Central African, and African Great Lakes region. And according to many studies and even DNA analysis, the Bantu people, when they left Egypt, they migrated south and they wandered for a long time. So they finally ended up in a central location where they established their kingdom. And this was in Central Africa. And in Central Africa is where you had the Congo Kingdom. And the Congo Kingdom was ruled by one king, and they had 12 provinces ruled by a kakak. And a kakak is like a governor or a lawgiver. This is also seen in the Hebrew Strong's definition of the word kakak. Same thing in the Kikongo language. And the interesting thing is that these 12 provinces were ruled by a family line with lineages, like a tribe, like a clan. And these tribes and clans and families were called kandas, Kandas. And in the Bantu culture, if you say Bakanda, Akamba, Wakanda, it's basically meaning like the people of the sons of. So
Mm.
you have to look at all the evidence, and we know that in the scientific world there's something called the Bantu expansion, and the Bantu expansion comes where, out of Central Africa, and all the other Niger Congo speaking people, they migrated to South Africa, like the Zulus and the Guni people. They migrated to West Africa, and they even migrated to East Africa, as told by the Akamba people that migrated from the Congo to Kenya. They'll tell you that they came from the Congo. So there's a lot of connections to Central Africa and the Bantu people who are the Israelites.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of information that definitely, if a person is interested in researching the study, Man, it will change your life forever. Actually, even if a people would even read the Bible, if you're even into the Bible, it actually opens it up even much more greater when you can actually stamp um, the story that are in there, the regions, the animals, the plants, the what's in the ground. It speaks of all these things that you only find in Africa. You know, you talk about some of the foods, whether you talk about the milk and honey. I mean, Africa is carries on with a lot of honey farms and things like that that you wouldn't even
Mhm.
that they you see on TikTok of many people going to these places to get this honey. And but of course, there again, those who are in charge, they can always they always change stories and change, you know, names and of like 54 countries in Africa, giving the names, changing lakes, changing rivers, changing, you know, everything that they can to make it their own. And so what
There's,
do you
there's
think?
there's actually three animals, three. It's actually more that you can prove that if this was talking about Israel, then it has to be in Africa. And
Yeah.
one, the Greek word for giraffe is camelopardus. Camelopardus. This is in Deuteronomy 14:5 in the Greek Septuagint, the first Bible we ever have. The Bible tells you what kind of animals you can eat. That God says you can eat this animal. One of the animals is the giraffe. Now it says you can eat an animal that has a split hoof like this, and an animal that chews the cud. If you choose to cut, it has a split hoof. This animal is okay to eat. It's
Clean.
clean.
Yeah.
If anybody can go to Google right now and Google giraffe hoof, and you'll see that it's a split hoof, just like a cow.
Yeah.
Google, does a giraffe chew the cud? The giraffe chews the cud. A giraffe has four stomachs like the cow. A
Yeah.
giraffe is clean. Giraffes eat acacia trees. The most place on earth that has the most acacia trees is Africa. And then
Mhm.
Australia, but Australia is an island. It's not Israel. Giraffes are eating the acacia trees. They're indigenous to Africa, hands down. Then when you look at the word rhinoceros, in the King James Bible, in our English Bible, it says unicorn. There's no
Unicorn.
unicorn in the Bible, but they tricked us because in the Greek Septuagint, it has the word monochorus or rhinochorus. Rhino means nose, choros means horn. Horn, nose, animal. Oh, the unicorn has a horn right here. The rhinoceros has a horn on his nose. So when you had the KJ 1611 and then the Latin Vulgate, and they switched it over, they said, we got to change this, guys. We can't do this. And they
Mhm.
changed it to unicorn. Rhinoceros are not indigenous nowhere in Saudi Arabia, nowhere in the Sinai Peninsula, nowhere in Jordan, nowhere in Israel. So wandering through the wilderness and looking around for rhinoceros is only going to happen in Africa. The last thing is in Leviticus 11, chapter 11, verse 30 to 31, it mentions crocodiles. In some cases, it may say monitor lizard. And it says that if you run into a crocodile that's on the ground, on the earth, dead, and you touch it, you're unclean. So if you're walking along in Israel and you see a dead crocodile along the banks of a river and you touch it, you're unclean. But crocodiles and monitor lizards are not indigenous to Israel. They're indigenous to Africa. So the Bible's giving us clues to where the true land of Canaan is in Israel, but we're not using our brain. We're not
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah. I had watched a video. Somebody was asked somebody a question about the bears, and bears used to exist in Africa.
Of course.
They used to exist and extinct now, but they were definitely predominant there. And people got to understand too, just because you see animals in some countries don't mean they weren't taken out of the continent of Africa. Many Europeans came in and not only took us, they took animals, took gold, took everything. And yet
Yep.
then you find these populated areas of animals thinking that they've originated there when only they just took them out and have used them for themselves, you know, or for their entertainment of creating zoos and you know these traveling circuses and all this that they do, that they took these African animals out of the countries to include plants and food and everything else. Corn came from Africa, you
Exactly.
know corn came from Africa, and I mean, and that's proven facts. And
Yeah.
so, and how did the natives here in America have it before the Europeans came? They got it from Africa. Africans traded on a daily basis and lived in America.
You see,
So
you see the Israelites will say, "Well, Ron, it says corn. It says corn." Well, no, it's maize.
maize,
Sorghum
yeah,
and maize is in Africa. Well, Ron, bears is not in Israel in Africa. If you and I'm gonna support you in the Western Cape in South Africa, they have a museum. It's called the West Coast Fossil Park. West Coast Fossil Park. They have a website. They actually built this museum on an archaeological site that they dug up all these bear skeletons, not just one, a whole lot of them. And they coined this bear the African bear. And they said this bear was living good because this bear was eating good. And because of that, of natural selection, this bear was the largest bear species known to man, bigger than the Atlas bear in North Africa, bigger than the grizzly bear. And they said, yes, this bear did exist, and he lived in southern Africa. And they found skeletons of the same species of bears in Western Africa, in Kenya, in Ethiopia. So the bears did exist in Africa. Now, did somebody come around and start shooting them down with the gun and say, so then now they're gone? Well, we know that the bear's natural habitat is in a place like Africa. And when you look at when you look at David, he defended his father's flock, Jesse, from a sheep. And he said, a lion and a bear came, and I defended the sheep from the lion and the bear. Well, lions are still around in Africa, and the largest species of lion, obviously he's large because of natural selection. He's eating good. He's living in a good place. He's not starving.
yeah,
Is the Congo lion. It's the lion in the Congo that likes to rest and hang out in trees. No other lion likes to just hang out in trees, but the Congo lion, the largest species of lion in the world. Just as the largest species of bears, they found the skeletons at this museum. So you guys, you cannot keep using this corn, no bears, this and that. No, we're debunking all of that.
yeah, yeah. Well, wow. So, man, you living in South Africa, and you're doing some things there. Share about with you had some challenges even with your movie, and give us a couple minutes, man, of the outcome of that and how it transpired, who was out against you, and what was the outcome of that?
So when I got to South Africa, I booked. I went to Monte Casino Theater. Monte Casino is a chain of casinos and hotels and restaurants and movie theaters, and they have inside the casino a theater called Monte Casino, and the exhibitor is Turkina Courts. Turkina Courts it's like AMC or Star, and I signed a contract with them to show the movie at their largest theater, Theater 11, the IMAX theater in Monte Casino Theater in Johannesburg. And somehow, some way, they saw us passing out flyers on the street in Joburg, right outside the Monte Casino Theater. And somebody notified the owners of Monte Casino Theaters or Southern Sun. The founder of Southern Sun or Monte Casino Theaters is Solomon Kurzner. He's a Jew. I didn't know this till later. They sent an email to Sakina like AMC, and said that you're going to have to cancel this movie screening immediately. This is an executive order. It's not up for discussion. Cancel it now. They did this 10 days before we were supposed to show the movie. After they did that, they showed the movie Shaka Ilembe, this documentary or a series about Shaka Zulu, which a white lady had produced. And they had the whole red carpet. They had all these people came out. They were taking pictures. The TV stations were all there, and the whole arena was full of people learning about the history of Shaka Zulu. They allowed that movie to play, but when I tried to get Hebrews to Negroes, Wake Up Black America, or Wake Up Africa, that's what I titled it. When they seen that flyer that said Hebrews to Negroes, Wake Up Africa, it was like, no, 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 sir. And after they did that, I said, wow, this is crazy. So then I went to Soweto Theater, like immediately. I said, hey, I just got canceled from Monte Casino Theater. If I pay the contract, signed contract and pay to use the theater on this date that's open, that's available, can anybody make a phone call and then tell you guys to shut it down? They said no. He said you're good. Just pay the money. You're good. I said they said the theater is not owned by the Jews, owned by the city of Johannesburg. I said okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
then
right.
so then I paid, signed contract. Within less than that was like at 5 o'clock in the evening. By 6 o'clock in the morning, I got an email. So not 24 hours even go by. I was like, how did they find out? Less than 24 hours, I got an email saying we need to speak to you today in the office. I said, I was just there in Soweto. I drove an hour to get there and an hour back. Well, we need you to come back. I said, why? They said, well, we just need you to come back. And I said, okay, I already know what it's about. And they started laughing. I said, okay, we got down there. They said, how are you doing? Are you well? Are you winning? Are you okay? I said, no, because I know what you're going to tell me. And so, oh man, don't say that. I said, come on, guys, I know what you're going to tell me. We go up to the office. The Soweto theater staff, the general manager, they're all sitting in the office. And I said, let me just say what you're going to say. You're going to have to cancel the movie, right? They say yes. How'd you know? I said, because I told you this. And I said, go ahead and tell me who told you to cancel it. I said, tell me who called you and told you you had to cancel the movie. And the lady sitting in the corner, she says, I got the answer right here. And she looked down her paperwork and she read, she says, the South African Embassy of Israel. I said, the Embassy of Israel, South Africa? She says, yes. And I said, anybody else? He said, oh, yeah, the South African Jewish Board of Deputies. And I said, okay, so is anybody else? They said, yes. And I said, who else? I said, are they Chinese, Arab, Indian, black? They said, no, Ron, they're not. But I said, were they non-Jewish Europeans? They said, yes. But we're not going to get into all that. I said, did they give you a name? They said, Benjamin. I said, you know what? Okay. I said, so they made a phone call to you guys, told you to cancel it. Why? They said, well, the masses are not happy with this movie you're showing here. I said, who are the masses here in South Africa? Or who are the masses in Soweto? And they said, black people. I said, so are the masses upset that I'm showing this movie here that's subtitled Wake Up Africa? They said, no, Ryan, no, that's not what we mean. And I said that they said that they don't want the movie because it's anti-Semitic and all this other stuff. And I said, have you seen the movie? Have y'all seen the movie? They said, no, but we looked it up and we've seen that it has a lot of good, positive reviews on Amazon, but it seems as though the Jewish community is not happy about the movie, which I don't understand because the movie is about Black history, according to what it says on Amazon. I said, correct. They don't want you to know your history. And so I said, do we have any power in South Africa? I said, because the Jews don't own sort of theater, but they can call and have you tell me you're shutting it down and breaching the contract. And I said, do we have any power? Do you have any power? And they all put their head down. And I said, I asked you yesterday, I said, I told you here. I said, nah, can anybody call and cancel it, the Jews? And they said, no. And I said, here we are right now. And they all put their head down. And I said, you know what? If I had to sue somebody for discrimination, it's going to be you, not the South African Jewish Board of Deputies or the Embassy of Israel, because you were the one I made contract with. You're the one I paid. You're the one this whole deal is with. And they listened, and I walked out the door. The next day, they said, Ryan, we thought about it. You can show your movie here, but we cannot sell tickets like we do any other customer on SowetoTheater.com. You cannot advertise your movie here on the billboard in Jubilani Mall and Mapanya Mall, and we can't be seen advertising any of this stuff, just like you would get for a normal customer that books with us. We do this service for them, but we can't do that for you. You have to do this to a third party, which I already heard that you're doing because we didn't know how you were promoting this. And I said, we're using street teams. We're getting on the street and doing it in Johannesburg and Soweto. We have to get around all the red tape. And so they let me do it. And then after I showed the movie, the Jews were not happy. And then they filed an appeal. They filed a complaint with the South African Film and Publications Board to rate the film as double X. Double X means that the film is like child pornography and it's illegal to see in South Africa. So then when they hired their lawyers, the attorneys to fight me. They lost. They lost in November of 2023. Then, after they lost, they filed an appeal and showed up to the South African Film and Publications Board office in Centurion, and they showed up and said, "Listen, we filed an appeal. We don't agree with your decision. You need to rewatch the film and reclassify the film as double X." And yeah, they didn't give up. They did not give up, and so they filed the appeal, and then they called me and said, "Ron, the Jews have filed an appeal. We need you to appear June the 25th, 2024, in our office to go back and forth with why this movie should not be reclassified as illegal to watch in South Africa." So I had to sit down with the South African Jewish Board of Deputies and their lawyers, and we had to deliberate like we're in court, like we're in a little courtroom. And to this day, I contacted them. I said, "Hey," I said, "did you guys come up with a decision yet?" And they said, "No, we're still deliberating the matter, and it's 6 months ago." So they're still trying. The Jews don't give up. They don't want this movie to be seen by the people in South Africa. Although many of the richest people in South Africa, the millionaires and the billionaires, they're Jewish descent, although their population is very small in South Africa. So
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
that's it.
It's a shame, and it just goes to show, why I don't promote South Africa. I mean, it's bad enough to say that most majority of the African countries are still controlled by the West. It's just how it is. But things like that is what put a sour taste in my mouth, that our own people can still submit to their so-called pressures, and yet we are the ones who still feel the brunt of the discrimination and all the backlash that comes with it when we're trying to strive and to do our own. It infuriates me, really. It really does, because it's just a shame. But that's your challenge that you've had there in South Africa, and we talked a little bit about your struggles when it came to America. But I want to go ahead and get into the you know um, our own people. We
Hmm.
would call it the Breakfast Club or Candace Owens, and you even said that quarterback Cam Newton, these guys who got platforms, who they'll interview everybody else, but when you was on the hot seat and you became nationally known, your movie became nationally known, nobody called you to ask for your side of the story. And when you reached out to them, you got no answer or you was denied. And yet, um, many people need to hear your side of the story of, your movies or whatever. But instead of really going into all that with the movies, I'm kind of curious of, share it with us about, those you reached out to and those who you try to do, interviews with, so that, people can know the truth.
Yeah. So prior to the Kyrie incident, and even during the Kyrie incident, I reached out to the Breakfast Club to do uh, digital marketing, and they have a team to do that. And I called them and I spoke to the manager and the assistant manager, and they said, "Okay, uh, we can do it. It's 60 seconds and I think 30 seconds." And the people, the DJ, MV, Charlemagne, or Angela Yee, they will read off your advertisement for 1 minute. And this is what it's going to cost. And they gave me the pricing. And they said, "Can I just know what you're promoting?" And I said, "Yes, Hebrews and Negroes Wake Up Black America, the movie." And they went on Amazon and they looked it up and they said, "Oh wow, it's on Amazon. Amazon since 2019. It has 4.5 out of 5 stars. It's a lot of good reviews. I'm assuming that this is targeting African Americans and the Black community." And I said, "Yes." And they said, "Oh, you got books too that are 4.8 out of 5 stars. Oh, you got DVDs too. Yeah, you've been out here for a while now. Oh, this was I never heard about this movie, and man, this was really nice." And so they told me what I needed to do, and they told me they were going to get back on me. They said that DJ Envy and Charlemagne and these guys they don't have a problem with doing it because they're the ones that mainly get paid. This is that they had to go run it by the producers, and like a week or two went by, then a month went by, all right, and then I had a friend he called on my behalf to inquire about the status of this work. Okay, so when she called, they said, "Oh yeah, we talked to the producers," and they said no. And I said, "Why?" And they said they don't have to give you a reason why. And I said, "Well, can I talk to them? Can I email them?" They said, "No, you're not allowed to email them." And I said, so they don't want to take my money that they chart. They said this is what it's going to cost to do this, and it was so simple what they needed from me, and they said no, we don't want your money. We just declined the offer. And I said, this is crazy. And so during the time of the Kyrie incident, um, I reached out to Candace Owens, I reached out to Vlad TV, I reached out to different platforms that people were telling me to try to get in contact with, like Dr. Boyce Watkins, Roland Martin, and all these different platforms that were talking about Kyrie Irving in the movie, and because I was seeing it. And do you know that the whole time in 2022, when Kyrie kept telling them, you're asking me to apologize for something I didn't create. And then they said, well, I think Adam Silver is looking for the words I apologize. And then he said again, he said, I'm not the one that made the documentary. And they
Yeah.
all had their cameras like this right in front of his face. He said, I'm not the one that made the documentary. And nobody said, well, let's call the guy that made the documentary and let's interview him. When the CNN, Washington Post, and Newsweek, and these guys did email me, or when they did call me, they said they called and they said, who's funding you? And they said, and I said, huh? And I said, who? They said, who's funding you? How'd you make the movie? How much did the movie cost? Did it really cost $8,000 or $9,000? And I said, is that what you see on Google? They said, yes. I said, well, then that's your answer. They said, well, is that really how much it cost to make the movie? And I said, what did Google tell you? Again. And they said, well, I want to know. I said, what did Google tell you? Then they said, well, are you working? Where are you working at? I said, none of your business. They said, well, are you in communication with Kyrie and Kanye West? Did they talk to you? Do they call you? Do they
A
help you?
reporter. This was a reporter.
Yes,
You've been
yes,
snooping for information. Yeah.
exactly. And I said no, and which was the truth. And then they said, well, how'd you make the movie? I said, an editing program in the computer. And they said, anything else? I said, no, it's editing program in the computer. And they said, oh, okay. Then they said, well, how much money did you make from the movie? And I said, that's none of your business. And they said, well, then can you at least tell us how many people streamed your movie in the last 2 weeks? They said, after all, Kyrie has 6 million followers, and we know that you had to have an increase in sales, after this thing that he did. And I said, yeah, I got analytics. And they said, can you check it right now? We'll sit back and wait. I said, no, I'm not going to check it. They said, why not? And I said, because I don't. It's none of your business. And they said, well, we want to know how many people has actually
I'm
watched.
surprised. I'm surprised you entertained even the questions, because I would
Yeah,
have been like, yeah, send me $500,000. You get all the I answer all that you want me to answer.
yes, I was kind of playing along with their little game, and I said,
Yeah, I figured you was.
yeah, I'm not going to tell you how many people streamed the movie because I know that they were worried about, man, there's 6 million people. There's 6 million people stream the movie for $9.99, and they're doing the calculations. They're doing the calculations, and they're thinking about how many people could have woke up to the movie. So they're scared.
How much, how
And
much damage? How much damage control do they need to do?
exactly. So
Yeah.
then they said, well, Kim, they said, they started asking me all these other questions. They never asked me to apologize. They never asked me if I felt remorseful for what was going on with Kyrie or what I did in the movie, what I said. They never asked me any of these things, and they wanted all these statements. I said, no statements. You're gonna have to interview me. They said, no, Ryan, we don't want to interview you. Every last one of them, CNN, the Washington Post, Newsweek, at least the people that called, this is who they said they were. And I said, no statements, because you're gonna alter it. You're gonna alter it, and you're gonna say something that I didn't even say. I said, so interview only. They said, no, we don't want to interview you. No, everybody said the same thing. So in the year 2022, when Kyrie was getting all the heat, the filmmaker, they never said my name on live TV, and not one person called me and emailed me and contacted me and said, hey, we want to interview you. And the people that people saw me on their YouTube channel, like I contacted them. Like I went in the comments and said, hey, I'm Ron Dalton, the one who made the movie. I don't mind talking to you. I had to contact them. I had to contact these other people, and they were not Israelites. The whole world didn't want to hear what I had to say. They were like, let's just sweep him under the rug. Let's make him so that he doesn't exist. He's like Batman. Don't say his name on live TV. Don't say filmmaker Ronald Dalton Jr. and all this other stuff, and go down my whole history. He's the creator of H2N TV, and he's from Michigan. Same thing. If I committed a crime, if I had a rap sheet, has been in jail twice. He's wanted for this and that. They would have gave my whole rap sheet if they I don't know why the fee's going on, but this was the thing that people have to understand, is that I find it strange in a year, in a time frame, that people have to report the facts. That while Candace Owens was talking about Hebrews to Negroes, while Mark Lamont Hill is talking about Hebrews to Negroes, he has it in his title. They're talking about this movie that got the whole world, up in a frenzy. Nobody that's reporting the facts decides that, hey, this guy Ron Dalton, he does exist. We can Google him, we can find out his website, we can contact him, we can contact the publisher, whoever his publisher, we can get his number, his email, we can contact him and get him on an interview. Louis Farrakhan and Rizza Islam, I talked to them and then met Rizza Islam in the Nation of the Fruits of Islam leadership, and they said, we would like to interview you. And I said, I'm ready whenever you are. I said, you just got to give me the date and the time and location. And in the back of my mind, I said, they're not going to interview me. They're not going to interview me. And they did not interview me, and the people that did say, like, I had like one or two radio stations that interviewed me. And also World Star Hip Hop, they had a show underneath their banner, and they interviewed me. And each one of them, I said, is this pre-recorded? They said yes. I said, are you going to air the interview after we're done? And they said yes, in about a week. And after we did the interview, a month later, I said, hey, I didn't see the interview. Did you air it? They said, oh, no, we can't air that interview. I'm sorry, Ryan. We can't interview. I'm sorry. And I said, didn't I tell you you weren't going to do it? You just wasting my time. I know, Ryan. They
didn't pay you for the interview?
No. And they all said that we're going to
problem right there.
I was like, go ahead, let's talk. But they all said that they were going to air the interview, and they were excited to have me on, and they were all just cheesing and everything, asking all these questions. But then I think that the questions they asked me, I had an answer for them. And then I asked them a question that they couldn't answer. And and I think that they thought they could break me with the questions and show that this guy don't know what he's talking about, and this guy, this and that. But they couldn't do that with me. So I think that they said, this is not a good look. We can't show this interview, blah, blah, blah. And they didn't show the interview. So this is why you guys don't see me anywhere being interviewed, even to this day, Candace Owens is, she interviewed MIA, the Indian rapper, singer, and she even admitted in the interview that she learned something out the movie. And she said, actually, what in the movie they talked about the Hindi language, the Dravidian South Indian language, like Tamil, and she admitted that what was in the movie was correct. and she said, "Well, am I gonna get canceled for saying the name of the movie?" And Candace Owens said, "Well, for everybody that doesn't know, this was a movie that Kyrie Irving did back in 2022, and it's called Hebrews to Negroes Wake Up Black America." And the Jewish community and the ADL went all in a frenzy. She even mentioned it again this year, 2024. But never do they say we never do they say we reached out to Ron Dalton and he declined the interview. No, nobody reached out to me. And even when I reached out to them, because Candace Owens has her own page, they don't never call back. It's like they're scared.
Oh yeah, they can sit back and act like they're independent or they're their own bosses. They're not. They're not their own bosses. They know they answer still to those who puts money in their pocket.
And,
They
I, and,
know
I,
that.
and that's the thing. Like, I don't care if it's Shannon Sharp, Charleston White, Cam Newton, uh, Noriega, Drink Champs, uh, Joe Rogan, Alex Jones, 60 Minutes, like Fair Comments on 60 Minutes. All these platforms, Breakfast Club. Remember, all these platforms are allowing the person to sit on the microphone and talk to millions of people. So why would they say we're going to let Ryan Dalton sit in the same spaces in the same seat as Dr. Umar Johnson, as Brother Ben X, Dr. Boyce Watkins, Dr. Claude Anderson, Baby, Lil Wayne, Kevin Hart, Will Smith, the Nation of Islam, Louis Farrakhan. Why would we let Ryan Dalton sit in the same seat or in the same circles with your Tariqs and all these people, Candace Owens, because they know that if they allow that to happen, then I'm going to start saying stuff that millions of people are going to hear, and they're going to be like, what? And they're going to start waking up. They're going to start going to their Google. They're going to start searching for Hebrews to Negroes, and then the rest is going to be history.
Mm-hmm. Are you getting a flash from my screen?
No,
No.
it kind of goes in and out, but it's still right
Yeah,
now.
my screen's going haywire. I tell you, man, ever since I sent that email to you, man, my computer has not been acting right. You
That
know?
that is, there's a lot of things I can tell you behind the scenes of what I had to deal with in Hebrews to Negroes, and a lot of it, when we work on the computer, whether you type in a book or making a movie, I tell you, just like the movie Tron, and the entity that gets inside the machine or the video game and starts controlling things. Um, these things I believe are happening right now because I will get all types of glitches, all
Yeah.
types of computer shutdowns. It's computer poof shut down. And I'm like, what's going on with my computer? What's trying to log it, reboot it, get it back to working. These kind of things happen to me year after year after year after year. So when I see lights flickering and stuff going on, electrical, even my computer, I say this is nothing but the enemy. It's nothing but the enemy. So yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna get into somebody's asking they want to come in on a link, maybe ask a question or whatever. Um, yeah, we're about an hour in right now. Anybody out there who wants to ask Ron any questions? Yeah, tell us a little quickly about your app that you have out there with your movies and everything.
So the H2N TV app. Um, Prior to the Kyrie incident, I was getting a lot of community guideline strikes, and I said, in YouTube you get one, two, three strikes and you're gone. And
Yeah,
I'd
I've been
already, yeah,
almost got
I,
my 2 3 years ago.
and I already knew that people were saying that they were posting Hebrews to Negroes on Facebook and getting suspended for like a 30-day time, and then channel deletions, channel takedowns, video takedowns. And I said, man, this might be me soon. And so I created and started the platform h2ntv.com. It's a streaming platform just like Netflix and Amazon, where you can go and see all the content, all the movies that I made that Amazon rejected. And so just like these platforms, you can get the app on Roku, the Amazon Fire Stick. You can get it on iOS. You can get it on Android, and it's right there H2N space TV. And if you don't have the app, you can go to the URL, which is www.h2ntv.com. The reason why I know that this is a threat to them is because when Kyrie did what he did, you got to understand people started searching for Hebrews to Negroes on YouTube. Like this guy have a channel, and I did have a channel, and the videos that I was posting pre Kyrie after the Kyrie post were getting like 500,000 views after Kyrie had did what he did, and people were flocking to YouTube to see who is the man behind Hebrews to Negroes, because I actually had a channel, and because I knew that the tricks of the algorithm, I had scaled back doing a lot of teaching on YouTube, and I would teach a little bit, but then I would advertise all the time h2ntv.com. I had the promotional video playing and the new trailers for new movies. And when I saw all the views coming in after the Kyrie post, and then they started subscribing to H2NTV because they were curious as to what is H2NTV.com, I knew, I said, they're going to take me off of YouTube. There's no way they're going to allow me to stay on YouTube when every video that I post Kyrie is getting a 500,000 views. And those 500,000 people looking at the video, they're seeing h2ntv.com and they're subscribing $9.99 a month to get all this information that more than what is in the book and the movies that were available at the time on Amazon. Because I got a whole lot of movies on H2TV. So I'm sitting there like, man, I'm looking at all the subscribers. I'm like, yeah, the people are going to get this truth. It's about to blow up. And then I wake up one day and I go to my YouTube, gone. I didn't get one strike, two strike, three strikes. It's just gone. Then I tried to create another channel with another email, and the first trailer that I posted on there, they must have thought it was me. They deleted the channel. Then I did another channel, and I had another guy. He had an email. He let me use his email, and we opened the account, and we called it like wake up something. We even used the word Hebrews or H2N. And when I posted a trailer as the first video of the YouTube channel, the new YouTube channel, after like a day or two, channel gone. And I said I knew at that point that YouTube was not going to allow me to be on. So for 2 years, I was banned from YouTube until 2 months ago. I threatened YouTube. I threatened to sue them, and I had the lawyer's name and everything. I said, I'm going to sue you guys. You guys are treating me wrong, discriminating against. I want proof that what you guys deleted my channel was because of hate speech and anti-Semitism. And once I sent that submission, then within a day they gave me one of my old channels that I had created after the Kyrie incident took down my main channel. So this channel that I have is H2NTV, aka Moses Levi. So it's H2M space TV, aka Moses Levi. But this channel has like 2,000 subscribers. I can barely get like 800 views.
Yeah.
That's how they do you. And so because of that, I knew I had to have my own platform, h2ntv.com. The same way Damon Dash was talking about, we need to have our own platform. We need to have this. We need to have our own, so that they can't cancel us. They can't delete us just at the drop of a dime. So I look at people like Dame Dash and the guy that started Zeus Network, and people that own their own distribution streaming platforms to where they can create content, they can create a movie, a series or episode, and they can put it on there, and they don't have to deal with all the nonsense that we get with YouTube, demonetization. And,
yeah, but I don't know. You could have used somebody else besides Dame Dash.
I know.
He ain't true to his own. So
I know. But being independent is what
you need to get our own platforms. But still, even then, you're still scrutinized, and the government can come in, man, and seize up anything that they want.
Exactly.
I mean, our freedoms of speech and all that is out the door, and they coming for, man. They coming for the Hebrews, man. All the brothers on the streets now, man. They talking facts and sense. man, look, Trump's going to shut that down. That freedom of
Yeah.
speech, man, they're going to shut that down. They putting that under hate crimes,
Yep.
hate
Hmm.
speech. Yeah. Well, we got a guest, Kim. I guess hopefully he got you a question on your way here. Um, Yeshua,
What's up, man?
what's good with you? What good with you? You got a question for Ron today?
Yes, man. It's about time I got the chance to talk to this brother. I mean, he's smiling like, yeah, spiritually and what they call that, and when you can use your telekinesis, whatever they want to call that stuff,
Yeah.
you kind of smiled at me, Ron, like saying, yeah, it's about time, huh? So, yeah, but the question I wanted to say to you, first of all, your book, it's still for sale, right? Am I correct?
Yeah, it's on Amazon right now.
Okay, great. Okay. The second part is that I want you to understand. I want you to stay safe, bro, because them dudes. They can do they evil, and they can do evil things to brothers like us. Back to Africa, you too, brother. I always worry about you. Once you travel, I always worry about you, bro. I said that brother needs to stay safe. So brothers like y'all and the brothers out there who really want to wake our people up, we have to stay safe because now we into something different. This dude they got in office now, he's a different breed, you know. Um, and I always tell black folks, especially the brothers who want to be atheists, I always tell them, I say, y'all better hope that there is a most high. You better hope the most high is watching over us because these folks are about to put something or are going to attempt to put something on us. And we need to be ready.
Well, even you mentioned about the Most High, nothing could be done unless it's within His will. Every
Mhm.
man is destined for his day of time, and I had to realize that. Where it's like, I can't walk around scared. I
Right.
can't be frightened. I can only do what the Most High had me do. Look, 12 disciples died for the cause,
Mhm.
murdered. They were
Right.
martyrs for the cause. And being that I had came through a health spell, and the Lord showed me, you afraid to die.
Mhm.
And I had to take charge of my mission. And that is, I would be honored to die for the Lord by doing the work for the Lord. I don't care. Kill me.
Right.
Kill me. So I used to get upset when people used to say, be careful. Be careful
Right.
of what? Like
Right.
America, you gotta kick, you can't be careful. Like
right. Right.
yeah,
Right.
America, man. You know what I'm saying? Shoot,
Right.
I'm
Mhm.
looking over my shoulder. You know what I'm saying? Especially
Mhm.
around our own folk as well. But
Right.
around because around we're more they are the other people are more covert than we are
Right.
just extrovert or whatever. But
Right.
but yeah, but I appreciate that, man. I appreciate the concern. I
Yeah.
appreciate and definitely that because yeah, we got to use wisdom in what we do. But hey, I can't stop anything, man, that's coming at me. I
Right.
can't. And every man has his day. And what honor it would be for me to take my last breath doing the work for the Most High. That's how I see it. If I'm not doing the work for the Most High, man, I'm living in vain. I really am. Because I mean, when I was young cat, I used to live for myself. I used to do for myself. I was a selfish guy. Now it's for the people, man. It's for the
Mhm.
it's for our people. It's
Right.
to
Right.
motivate, encourage, bring the Most High into people's lives, and that's it, man. And Christ said, man, who's willing to give up his life?
Right.
Are
Yeah.
you willing to give that life up for
Yeah.
another?
Yeah.
Are you willing to give your life up? We
Right.
afraid of that, man. We don't really think about those scriptures, man. This man is a death walk when you talk about, man, really doing the work. And
Mhm.
I see, man, my lovely brothers out there. I'm doing an interview, y'all, tomorrow with a young man, Ariala, who is a Hebrew Israelite. He's out on the streets, man. So many camps out there. And man, it's sad that I see our own people give them all the hell in the world that they're out there spitting the truth. Though I might disagree with some of their tactics and all that there, but I mean, what's more plausible?
Mhm.
Seeing black men on the street talking about stop smoking weed, be true to your family, take care of your kids, follow
Mhm.
the commandments, do right, and people are against them. It's like
Right.
we are sick.
Right. Hey, Ron,
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to ask you a question. I've been kind of studying. You know, man, I'm 58 years old. I don't look it, but I'm 58 years old, bro, and I've been at this for a long time. I've been in the nation. I met Yahweh Ben Yahweh. I met that brother, Yahweh Ben Yahweh. I took a picture with that brother some years ago, and this was right after I met him before he met the minister. Him and the minister had hooked up, but then shortly after that, they locked up Yahweh Ben Yahweh with the RICO Act. They locked him up, and then shortly after he went to prison, he gets out within 10 to 15 years. Then he dies. He has a heart attack. But I had met that person, but I've been at this for a long time, and I've been studying now, going to these things. I've been reading these brothers and sisters who were saying that the real Israel, the real Jerusalem, is not in Israel; it's in Africa. It's between Tanzania and Uganda. What do you say about that?
Well, the land of Canaan is a large land, and
Right.
according to the Ethiopic Book of Jubilees version, Canaan's land extended from West Africa to the tip of South Africa to East Africa, and if you look at the borders are the coast of the Atlantic Ocean and African coastline. So
Right.
his portion extended all the way down to the Bada Biafra, the Bada Bani, all the way through, Angola, Gabon, down into Namibia, South Africa, and again curving back up again past Mozambique, getting into Kenya and Tanzania, and when you get to Ethiopia and the Red Sea, a lot of that area was uh, cross-populated by the sons of Shem or the sons of Joktan and the Sabaeans that were partly they were the people that got socialized by the Hebrews that came out of Queen Sheba, King Solomon, and Menelik, and each I think it was either like the firstborn males of each of the tribes went with the Ark of the Covenant and Menelik back to Ethiopia to start the Solomonic dynasty, and they had to now teach them the ways of the Israelites and not the pagan ways that the people of the kingdom of Saba was already following, worshiping the sun, moon, and all these other deities in the Yeha temple, which was in Ethiopia and near not too far from Axum. So the land of Canaan is a large land, but the central hub of the Bantu people and Jerusalem, I believe, is in Central Africa. And this is where the majority of the Bantu people and even the Niger Congo speaking people in West Africa, when they tell you their history, they all say that they left Egypt, but then they all say that they also came from Central Africa
Mhm.
and migrated to where they are today.
Mhm.
And this is true with genetics and with linguistics and other things that we can look at. So that's what I kind of stay grounded on when I teach the land of Israel, or
Yeah.
aka Canaan.
And one more question. Well, I got one more question and one statement. The statement was when I took my DNA, that came up my DNA, Bantu, that came up my DNA. I was 14%. Yeah, that came up. And I thought that was interesting. I said, wow, that's interesting. The set is what I want to ask you, why do so many Hebrew brothers, the Herobas, why do they reject Africa? I don't get that about them, bro. I'm like, well, you read the Bible that's in Africa. I mean, your Bible is in African legacy. Whether you want to use the word Africa or not, you can say a Cuban land or whatever the case might be. But my thing is that a lot of them dudes reject Africa. And I'm like, bro, your culture is part of Africa.
Because for a long time, these camps would teach that the land of Ham or Africa was full of Hamites. They were all Hamites. They were
Mhm.
not Israelites. And in the 12 tribes chart doesn't have a supplemental 12 tribes chart for Africa. It doesn't exist. So they would have to now, tell people what countries and what tribes in Africa are the Israelites and give them a 12 tribes chart too. But then on top of that, they don't want to seem as though they were teaching wrong information, and that Ron Dalton and these guys that are teaching that Africa is the real land of Canaan were right and we were wrong, and we rejected this for many years. But even at that, they don't want us to understand that the true land of our forefathers, or the land of Canaan, is in Africa, sub-Saharan
Right.
Africa, and that we need to
Right.
come back home to our homeland, or the land of our forefathers. The Bible tells us that the remnant or people are going to come back from the land of our captivity, or land of the heathen where we were scattered to. So the very Bible tells us this, but yet they want to continue to focus on the Middle East as the where we need to go, so that they don't have people getting on this back to Africa, flee doctrine, all the stuff they've been saying about people going to Africa, like Israelites like me, that you guys are out of order. It's not biblical. This is
Yeah.
false doctrine. Don't believe Ron Dalton. So they don't want to admit that we were wrong, and people like Ron Dalton and Keithus and others were right.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
part of
Right.
the thing.
Right. And like I said, there's a lot of brothers and sisters who are teaching that. There's a sister that got a channel called African Exodus, a beautiful sister, man, and she's very good at that. She teaches that as well, and it's a couple other channels. But I want to thank you, bro, and I want to thank you, brother, as well. Is there a way I can stay in contact with both of you? Can I give you my phone number?
Well, if you subscribe to my email blast list on h2mtv.com, then everything that I do, and you'll see me emailing like once a week,
Okay.
Then when you see the email, you can respond and say, "Hey, Ron, this is Brother Yeshua," and then we can start conversing there, and then we can share numbers there. But I tell people all the time, because YouTube does not let you subscribe and give your phone number,
They don't.
or your email. No, everybody that's on YouTube. If I had 500 million followers on YouTube, I don't have all their emails. I don't have all
Mm,
their emails in their names. But
wow.
if you go to h2mtv.com and you subscribe to my email blast list, now I got your email, so that no matter what happens to me on YouTube or Instagram or Twitter, then I can still stay in contact with you. You can stay in contact with me, because a
Right.
lot of
Okay.
people like myself, we've had our channels deleted, and I think I had 55,000 followers at the time when I got my channel deleted in 2022. All those people that followed me, I don't have their emails. This poof gone.
Wow. Okay.
You know?
Well,
Okay.
appreciate you, Yeshua, man. Hey, yeah, if you want to reach out to me, go black to Africa at gmail.com.
Okay.
All right.
I did that before, and you never got in contact. Well, I'm gonna do it again. And
All
maybe
right.
now that you saw my face, you'll
Hey,
you'll
man,
get back to me.
answer 99.9% of my emails. I
Okay.
see you, I do. But
Okay.
maybe I was out of pocket, maybe somewhere, and
All
maybe
right.
I really deleted. Sometimes
Okay.
too, I mean, if somebody send me something that's not welcoming, I don't even answer it. I
Right.
don't.
Okay.
It's not,
Okay.
hey, go back, how are you doing? This and that. They just shoot me like something that's just like at me or something,
Right.
not
That. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
okay.
All right,
Appreciate
bro.
you.
Thank you. Let these two good brothers have a chance to talk. All right.
All right, brother.
All right.
All right, wide awake. Hey, what's happening, my brother? Peace and
Man,
blessings to you.
how you doing? Peace and blessings. Shalom, big bro.
Shalom.
Thanks for having me on. And we missed you, man. I'm glad to see you back, bro.
Yeah, I
Glad to see
appreciate
you
it.
back.
I'm glad to be back.
Mr. Ron Dalton, I've been following you for the past 8 or 9 years like a puppy dog with a treat in your sock, okay? I have been following you and admiring your journey as well as you go black. I mean, when you would post and be in the marketplaces and all these places of Africa, man, you have broadened my horizon. You have broadened. You guys are like big brothers I never had because I'm the oldest boy. So I want to give you guys admiration and appreciation for what
Appreciate
you're
it.
doing and who you're being. Go Black, I want to thank you for also inviting me back on. I do
Mhm.
have a question, Mr. Ron Dalton. I want to know if you're familiar with Simeon Toko. from the Congo, the stories and legends of him from the 1960s and 70s that was thrown under the rug. And I want to know if you believe in it, think it might be true, if you have faith in it, and if you've ever done any research on the person Simeon Toko. Could he be an angel or maybe a witness, one of the witnesses?
Um, I've researched more on Simon Kimbangu, a little bit on Simon Toko, but I think that these guys were all uh, great men, or you would say messengers or prophets in their time. Um, I don't teach that they're like Christ, like they're God manifested in the flesh, but I believe that they had a mission, and the Most High used them in a way uh, that was miraculous. And you're right. A lot of the stories about Kimbangu and Simon Toko, when I read it and I studied it, I was like, wow, so this is mind blowing. And this all happened with Kimbangu happened during the Belgium Congo era, and obviously the Kimbangu church is the largest church in Central Africa,
Yeah,
African
yeah.
church. And so yeah, so more people probably need to know about these guys, even Kimpo Vita, and a lot of the history that surrounds the Catholic Church and the Kingdom of the Congo, and these brothers that were uh, spring a lot of good stuff, and even prophecies that you can see happening
Yeah, yeah.
back then and then today. So
Okay.
so yeah, so I mean, but as you know, it's not easily available to find out the information on these two guys, but it's there if you start to study the history of the Congo, the Kingdom of the Congo.
Okay. Absolutely. Because you actually answered my second question within the stories of these guys and what they were basically being claimed to have done. I think it was miraculous. My second question would be, I've watched your Wake Up Black America. I watched it well before the Kyrie thing. I watched it well before the Kanye. And Kanye, he still loses me because he doesn't know simple terminology, and it kind of annoys me. It's like you're knocking at the door, but I don't think you believe what you're saying, type of thing. You know what I mean? And so, my next question would be: if you guys have been in Africa longer and more many times than I have, and I want to know if you guys are familiar with the story of Timbuktu, the Malian kingdom, because when I did my DNA test, so my DNA test came back um, majority Malian, Senegal. I was in the West Africa area. I was Niger, I was Mali, but I was majority Mali. Another thing that brought up was I was like almost a third Native American. Okay, do you believe that maybe it was a possibility? And I'm gonna be honest with you, I believe it as fact because of everything that I see in America with the old Mac and because I had to live on a reservation. I grew up on and in reservation life, and I want to know if you guys truly believe that maybe the Africans made it over to the Americas, uh, maybe even 1,000, 1,500 years before any Caucasian ever thought about, selling the seven seas. I want to know if you guys, especially you, Mr. Go Black and Ron Dalton, if you guys believe that, man, we were here, man. We were here because there's a slave list about what depicts um, certain types of slaves. And that list calls mulattoes, mulattoes are half black, half white. But a mulatto is half black, half Native American. you know, and then there's 6 or 7 more names. We can all go through them, you know, but they go through these names and they go through the percentage of bloodlines in which they consume or they are or whatnot, and they call them the slave. It's a slave depiction or category. So they go black, half white, half black, half American black, half African black, half Native American, so on and so forth. But it always boils down to it being some form of black that allowed you to be a slave in the early Americas. And do you believe that there was a possibility that the African kingdoms made it here first?
Now, okay, so I know about the Ghana Empire, the Mali Empire, the Songhai, Mansa Musa, and Abu Bakr. Then prior to Mansa Musa, that left with fleet or ships and never came back. I think that was
If
around
I'm
the
not
30.
mistaken, it was a brother or something that wasn't going to get his throne.
Right, right. Well, yeah, in around the 1300s, he left, never came back. But what I always tell people is that, those people that say that they're indigenous to America, I say, get your DNA test. Get your DNA test on your mother's side and your father's side. And you're going to see the majority of all African Americans are going to trace their DNA and their markers and their mutations all the
Straight
way
back,
back to Africa, to the Bantu people.
straight
And,
back,
and
straight
if you
back.
African ancestry, it'll tell you what tribe you come from. Like it'll tell you like the Akans in Ghana. And that means that are the Akan people in the Americas speaking, like there's any people that say that they were already there before the white man got there? Were they speaking Fanti and the Ashanti language, the Akan language? And the answer is no. Are there any people that were already there that claiming that they were indigenous? Were they over there speaking these Niger Congo languages before the white man got there? And they cannot say that because the white man colonized America, we lost our language. Because the white man colonized Africa for thousands of years, and they're still
Right.
speaking
They
their mother.
didn't
They're
lose
still
theirs.
speaking their mother tongue,
Exactly.
and they
Yeah,
still have the same
you're right.
DNA that American Negroes have. We just lost our mother tongue because when they put us on the slave ship, they were putting like the kids and they were all rounded up together from different areas of Africa. So I'm speaking Kikongo, you're speaking Mandinka, you're speaking this other language. I don't know what you're saying because I'm speaking Kikongo, you're speaking Mandinka. And so using your language on a slave plantation, unless there's somebody next to you or in the plantation that speaks Mandinka, it's not going to be useful. So you're going to start using the working language that they're sub teaching you, which is Pidgin English. And that's why over time, these indigenous languages that the slaves had when they came on the slave ships to America, they just had no use for them, so they lost them. But when you look at Africa, it's a different story. There wasn't a reverse slavery from America to Africa. It was from Africa to the Americas. And so one of the things that we kind of stick with is the DNA. And I know a lot of people that say that we were already here and we're not African. They don't never want to handle. They don't never want to deal with the DNA. Even Dane Calloway, these guys, I've offered to debate. I offered to debate them. Had them on my podcast show back in the day. Dane Calloway says, I'm just trying to show you the truth and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, the reason why they don't want to debate people like me, because we bring scientific fact and linguistic evidence to prove, no, brother, we came from Africa, and
Well,
America's an island. We didn't fly like Superman to America. We
right,
didn't swim like
right,
Aquaman to the Americas. So how the same way the white man got to the Americas on a boat is the same way
right.
we got to the Americas on a boat.
Okay,
And those,
so
and those that are claiming to be indigenous, like the descendants of the Native American Indians that were dark colored, but they had straight hair or wavy hair. Their
but
DNA
they
is not
didn't
our
have.
DNA. Their DNA is
I
a different DNA.
are those. I know. Okay, so so when we're talking in certain aspects of our moons and our suns or whatnot, and the Native American reds, which I took a lot of that. I took excuse my French if I slip up, but I took a lot of that stuff. I took a lot of the nature from it. I took a lot of the feeling grounded, being one with my outdoors, and all that stuff. Because the one thing I've always looked in the scriptures is you're right. There's no giraffes in the desert. There's no lions in the desert. You know, there's all those things. But in the Native American culture, we took in from everything. We took in from the beetle, the ant, the frog, the mosquito, the dragonfly. All those things were an attribute to our lifestyle. It was to be used for our lifestyle. But another thing in the culture is they always talked about African people. They always included us as a mainstay to not African people but dark people. They always included us in the culture. You understand what I'm saying? They always said, hey, if it wasn't for you guys, it wouldn't be this. If it wasn't for you guys, if it wasn't for people that looked like you. And for me, I'm with most people, and I'm pretty sure you can relate. They call us red bones. They call us light skin, and I was never as dark as some of the other guys that were on the Reds, if that makes any sense. And so I was always just kind of curious because once you're not lying, the DNA points back to the motherland. I'm more than 36% African, West African, but they throw that 11-12% Native American, they throw that 11-12% Scottish, and all that stuff in there because it's in there. I don't want to break it up, but it's there. And then you got to think. You say 400 years they mixed us up. They gave us a language. They mixed us up and then gave us a religion. They mixed us up, and so we had no real way of communicating amongst one another. You're absolutely right. But I think I was just wondering if could that be another reason why we couldn't communicate with the natives that were here? That because we know the story of the Seminoles. They had Midway, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, all the way down Louisiana, all the way down to Florida into the island. So we knew that they was what's it called? They were a welcoming tribe. They were a.
But here's the thing, like their DNA, the Native American Indians, their DNA is the Y DNA is Q1, Q2, or Q3. On the mother side is A, B, C, or D. Most cases A, C, or D. African Americans don't have maternal DNA A, B, C, and D. Or on the father side, the paternal DNA Y, like Q1 or Q2 or Q3. It's not there. These DNA haplogroups don't exist in Africa. So
right.
we may have mingled with them when we were taking as slaves to the Americas and started mingling with them. And we may have seen in the autosomal family tree history that we have some bits and pieces of evidence of mixing with them. But overall, when you look at our Y DNA from the father and our maternal DNA from the mother, you're going to see L1, L2, L3, L4, L5. You're going to see E1B1A, EM75. And all these haplogroups are indigenous to Africa. So we cannot say that we're indigenous to America when we see that they only existed in Africa for thousands of years. And then how they appear in America? Because of the slave trades. And the cultures of the people like the Gullah Geechee and African time and the people.
Well, I'm going to pass.
Yeah, it's all there.
Absolutely. So thank you guys for your time, and I appreciate you talking to me, Mr. Ryan, giving me a little idea because you're absolutely right. Majority of the DNA says Africa. Majority of the structure of the DNA says Africa. But, we're culturally inappropriated, I guess you can say.
Yeah. Appreciate you, Wide Awake, man. Hey, you take care, brother. Good seeing you again.
I love you guys, man.
All right. Peace out.
Be cool.
All righty. All right. We're going to bring it home here. Baya. Good to see you, my brother. Let me see if I got you. You got yourself on me. Okay. You took yourself off. How you doing?
Yeah. Hey, go Black, man. I appreciate you. All the work that you've been doing. Brother Ron, you know how we roll. I've known Ron for a minute, my clubhouse days. And so I appreciate the work that you guys are doing, man. The task is so tremendous trying to get our people to wake up, not just to being who we are, but the land of our ancestors, the land that was promised to our forefathers. And it's amazing the kind of sorcery that's been inflicted upon us, that even when things don't make logical sense, when you look at that little strip of land up here in the Northeast Africa, where nothing that the Bible describes about the
I'm hearing
promised
some
land
Jamaican
matches
coming out of
that
you.
land up there.
You're Jamaican, I'm hearing
Oh,
coming
yeah,
out
you
of
know
you.
I'm Jamaican, man. Come on. Hey, I saw
You
me
started
rolling
getting
on.
thick there
Come
for a
on,
minute.
Jamaican, man.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody peeked me. Yeah, I was born in Jamaica, but I call myself a Jamaican.
You started off sounding like a American preacher man, and then all of a sudden you switched to Jamaican on me.
So that Jamaican came out a little bit.
It came out there,
Yeah,
yeah.
man. But yeah, so it makes no sense that this little strip of land in the Northeast that they say is Israel is the promised land. It doesn't. And yet all of the history, all of it, you mentioned it, Go Black, the resources, all of the animals, the cultural practices, everything that was in the Bible, it's still going on right on the continent. And so we have to come out of that witchcraft. And I'm gonna tell you something. Even though I spent 40 years in the Christian church, I love my Christian brothers and sisters, but we have been manipulated and deceived by the Roman Catholic Church and by those who control the narrative, and have given us a false narrative of where the Holy Land is, where the holy people are. And so it's the job of people like you, Go Black, and I appreciate the interviews that you did with some of the elders on the continent, with some of the Igbo tribes and some of the Lemba, because our people need to hear this stuff. Okay. Just a side note, as the brother was asking about Simone Toko, interesting fact, and this is one of the things that led me to the Congo region of Africa, that there's a celebration that's called Martyrs Day, I believe. It's on January 4th. And it happened in 1959, where Simone Toko it was said that he called down a army of these little short people, and that they were very muscular, and that one of them literally flipped over a personnel carrier, an armored vehicle, and that was what kind of drove the Belgians out of the Congo area. Well, that happened on January 4th, 1959. And that happened to be the very day that I was born, January 4th, 1959. So it's interesting fact, and that's one of the reasons why I'm there in Angola, I bought some land there, and I'm planning on relocating there at some point. But what I really wanted to talk about is biblical prophecies. I'm here in the United States, and as you all are aware, Donald Trump was reelected. He's now in office, and all of the things that he's doing. And in fact, this recent airplane crash that just happened yesterday, I believe, he's saying it's because of the DEI program that caused the crash. So Black people are being given the short end of the stick. And what I personally believe, right, is that the Most High allowed this man to get back into office because our people need to be stirred up. If you go back to the ancient captivity, the Bible said that it was the increase of the taskmaster's whip upon the back of the Israelites that caused them to cry out to the Most High, because they were too comfortable in Egypt.
Yeah.
They were sitting around eating pomegranates, and they were having a good old time following after the Egyptian gods and all of the idolatry and things that was going on there. Many of the people did not want to leave. So what did the Most High do? He turned up the heat, and that caused many of them to look, we need to get out of this place. And so what is happening, I personally believe, is that the heat is being turned up on our people because we become too comfortable here in the land of our captivity. So, I wanted to ask you all opinion on what you think is happening prophetically, that we are dealing with right now. Because one other point I'll make, and then I'll turn it over to hear you guys what your thoughts are on this. Right? We are told that by the year 2050, that Africa is going to have a population of 2.4 billion people. Approximately, they're saying it's about 1.4 billion right now, but by 2050, they're saying that the population might go up to 2.4 billion people. The majority of them are going to be young people, while the other nations are having a population issue because they're not reproducing. There's a issue with sterility in the United States. There's an issue of there was one time I think in Italy for 3 months they had not had a single live birth. The same thing happened in Japan. And the Europeans as well as the Asians, their people are dying off at a faster rate than they're replenishing them. But Africa is having a population boom. And when you listen to economists such as Dr. Sachs, when you listen to Richard Wolff, these are all top class economists. They are talking about the fall of the American empire. And most of them will tell you that it's not a matter of when or if, it's a matter of when. And so for our people, it would behoove us to start to get our minds as well as our resources whenever we can out of this place, because your pensions are not safe. Your bank accounts are not safe. If the American economy falls, that little safety you think that you had, all of that goes away. And
Yeah.
as it wasn't, you have people like Ron, you have people like yourself telling our people that we are still in the lands of our captivity. And that if we don't make preparations, that when it falls, when this place, which I believe is Babylon, falls, that everything that we have worked so hard for is at risk. So prophetically, Ron, where do you think we are at right now? And how does what is happening here in the United States, including the election of Donald J. Trump, fits into the biblical timeline?
I think what you said is true, and I think that sooner than later, the plagues and Babylon's judgment is going to start unfolding in America. We haven't seen anything yet. This is just January going into February, and I think that as the plagues and the judgment start to manifest in America, then people are going to see that the Bible in Revelations 18 is coming to pass. We know that the Israelites left after the 10 plagues hit. Well, when the 10 plagues were hitting Egypt, the Israelites were not affected. But then after that, they left. But the Bible says in Revelations 18 that it says, "Flee Babylon, lest you also are partakers in the plagues that she's going to receive for her sins." It tells you to flee Babylon. If the Most High Christ is going to save you, He wouldn't tell you to flee. He will say, "I got you. Don't worry. Just hang tight. I'm gonna come get you. Then I'm gonna hit Babylon with all the plagues, so you don't have to flee." But the Bible tells us more than one time that you got to flee. And when I look at Ezekiel 38, and I see all of the tribes of Magog and Meshach and Tubal and Gomer and Togarmah and Persia, and then Russia making alliances with the Sahel countries, Russia making alliances in Sudan, Russia having flying out the president of Zimbabwe, Russia telling at the General Assembly if Rwanda goes to war with the Congo, then we're going to step in. You know, Russia and China have stepped on the scene recently because it's now their prophetical time. It's their prophetical time now to jump into the picture. And this is what I put forth as evidence in the movie Hebrews to Negroes 3, Volume 3, Gog and Magog versus the Israelites. And by simply understanding who these other nations are, like Togarmah and the Khazar correspondents and the sons of Togarmah, the Khazars, the Oghuz Turks, the Ugyars, the Bulgars, and all these nations that we see today that are in the Balkans, and they're in Russia, the Slavic lands, they're on the other side of the Caspian Sea, they're in the Caucasus Mountain region, they're in Eastern Germany. All this stuff is happening right now. And the only thing that we're not doing, we're not walking in our biblical destiny of returning back to the land of our forefathers so that we can be in that place where it says that when you come back, you will feed off the fat pastures of the mountains of Israel. You will eat man and beast. Beast will eat and lie down. You will eat and be fruitful and multiply. The Bible tells us when we come back and unite from the spirit of truth, waking up the dry bones, that we're no longer going to be divided. We're no longer going to have hopelessness. We're no longer going to say that our bones are withered. No, the Bible says that we're going to reverse all this stuff and become a massive army, but that's not going to happen unless the spirit of truth comes forth through the people and we start to get our act together. And right now, like you said, if we don't plan and prepare to flee Babylon, then when the America collapses, and you've been looking at the shows like Homestead and Silo and The Man in the High Castle and American Refugee and Civil War and World War Z and This Is How It Ends and The Road and The Walking Dead, we're gonna be in the same scenario in America like these movies when the whole system collapses. But the only place that I can see, like the Bible says that these nations are going to wake up one day and they're going to have an evil thought, an evil device, an evil scheme in their mind, and they're going to say, "Let us go to the land of unwalled villages." To those that are dwelling with either not bars nor gates, living in the midst of the land, they have cattle and livestock and land, and this is what the Bible says that they're going to do to the land of the Israelites, which is sub-Saharan Africa. But the Bible tells us in Ezekiel 38, be thou prepared, be on guard, and all those that are assembled unto thee, for in the latter days, these nations are going to come. And what does it say? They're going to come and they're going to cover the land like a cloud with all the people. And when go back, when I'm in South Africa, when I'm in Botswana, I see the Chinese, I see the Russians, I see the East Indians, I see the Jews, I see the Europeans, I see the Pakistani, I see all these nations, and they're doing big things. In addition to what they're doing, is they're secretly getting land, they're getting minerals, they're building their wealth, they're starting farms. They know what time it is because sub-Saharan Africa is that breadbasket. They understand that their survival is dependent on Africa, and I think that the Battle of Armageddon in the land of Jehoshaphat is when these other nations realize that if they want to survive, they're going to have to start doing another scramble for Africa and seizing land, seizing all the things they need to seize, so that their people can survive. And when African nations wake up and their leaders and the people and they say no more, then they're going to say, "No, you guys can't do that. You guys can't tell us that we can't. We got the goal that we can't have this. We can't have that. You guys can't." Look what South Africa did. The president signed into law the Land Appropriation Act, getting back the land. That's going to make a lot of Afrikaans and British people upset. And then they're talking about the Inga 3 dam in the Congo River. That if somebody gets a hold of that and has the money to fund it and build it, that can supply electricity to all of Africa. And whoever can control the electricity to all of Africa is going to make so much money. They're going to have so much control, just like in South Africa, Eskom and the load shedding. So all these nations, whether it's a carbon credit scheme with the UAE and Dubai, all these things that's happening in Africa, we have to pay attention because this is the true land of Canaan. And Central Africa, in particular, is the real treasure, because that, in my opinion, is the land of peace, rest, and safety. It's the land known as Jerusalem. And in that area, I think when everything really goes down, the mountains are natural barriers of protection, so that if the world, this like in the book of Revelations, you will see signs in the heaven and strange signs. And you see the heavens will scroll back like a scroll, and the stars fall from the heaven. The sun's not giving her light. Earthquakes, sea and the waves roaring, pestilence, famines. All these things are going to happen upon the earth. And what better place to be but in like a so-called inner earth, but on earth, where you're around Uganda and Congo and Tanzania and Kenya, and you got all these mountains and hills surrounding you. But inside this containment, you have all these valleys and rivers and lakes and streams and fish and animals. And you're
Rich
just sitting
soil.
like, yeah, and you can't. It's not like it's a nice highway to roll in these areas and roll out. No, you got to get in with a helicopter or a motorcycle. You got to have a guide. So this area, the people that's actually living there, they're living really in peace until this kind of external conflict from these proxy wars is going on. Because the proxy wars is the new thing now. Proxy wars in Palestine, in Israel, Ukraine, Russia, and then with the Congo. Who's behind the scenes? Aiding the rebels, who's arming them, and then where is these minerals? Where is their final destination place going? Because that's the people that have the true vested interest in the land. Are they stealing these minerals? Are they paying for the minerals? So all this is lining up with Bible prophecy. But the only thing is that the Israelites, most of us, are not awake to who we are. We're not awake to where our homeland is. If we don't know these two things, then we're definitely not going to want to come leave Babylon, America, and go back to the motherland to build back the two sticks, like it says.
This is something that and I'm not going to keep you guys. Got to know the time difference over there.
Yeah, I got 5 minutes left. I got 5 minutes left.
Okay,
so
I'll be quick. But what's happening in the Sahel region, I think, is also fulfillment of prophecy with young brothers like Ibrahim Traore and what's going on over there. The Bible talks about that he's going to raise up leaders after his own heart, who's going to have the people's best interests at heart. Because one of the things that we don't want to do, those of us in the diaspora, is to leave from Babylon and come to a continent where we don't feel safe, or where we feel that the Chinese have taken over or the Arabs have taken over. But the Bible says that the sons of the strangers are going to build up your wall. I believe that the Most High is allowing the Chinese and all these other nations to come in and to build up the infrastructure of Africa. Why? Because the time is going to come when her stolen children are going to return back to the continent in mass numbers. In fact, there's a scripture that says the time will come when they will no longer say that Yah liveth that took the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt, but that Yah liveth that took the children of Israel out of the land of the north and all of the nations where they have been scattered. So this regathering, this that's going to happen in the latter days is going to be something of massive proportions, because we're scattered all over the place. And our numbers are massive. And we have to have a place that can sustain us, not that little dried up piece of land up in the northeast of Africa. So keep those young brothers in your prayers. Pray for Ibrahim Traore, because these nations don't want to see that kind of fever spreading all over Africa, where people are waking up and saying, we're going to kick the colonizers out, take your military and go, take your money and go. We don't need your money. We got the resources. Stop begging. You don't need to beg. You have it under your soil. You just need to manage your resources, nationalize your resources. That's why they can't stand Julius Malema in South Africa, because he was talking about taking back the land without paying for it, because it was stolen from the people. So why should you have to now pay the thief to get your land back? So anyway, brothers, keep on doing what you're doing, man. It's well needed. Our people need to hear this message, and they need to see it, because it's a stronghold. And those of us in the Christian church, we need to get our minds out of that Europeanized religion, and start to learn about your history. As Marcus Garvey said, a people without the true knowledge of their history, heritage, and culture is like a tree without roots. So hey, thank you guys for the time, man. I look forward, Ron, to linking up with you. Go Black. I'm hoping one of these days I can link up with you on the continent. So peace and blessings to you both, man. Thanks for having me on.
All right, shalom. All righty. So Ron, I appreciate you coming on, man, and just giving us your time, man, and your wisdom, your knowledge that you have. Always a pleasure, brother, to just, man, hear, man, all the information that is rarely heard, and very few brothers out here even have that knowledge. And I appreciate you, and many others do too as well. Any last words you'd like to share with the people?
Yeah, so if you can only do one thing, you need to go to h2mtv.com. You need to look at the movie Hebrews to Negroes 3, Volume 1, The Kingdom of the Congo and the Israelite Connection. Then go to Volume 2 and look at the true biblical Exodus and the land of Canaan. It's going to blow your head off. And then go to Volume 3, the newest one I just dropped, Gog and Magog's army versus the Israelites. You cannot look at these 3 volumes and say, we need to get back to Africa. Remember, in Zechariah chapter 2, verse 7, it says, ho, ho, escape, O Zion, Israel, from the daughter of Babylon, for those who dwell in the daughter of Babylon. Zechariah lived and prophesied during the time that they were building the second temple. They had already left Babylon and came back to Israel under the Persian rule, because it mentions Darius. And we know Cyrus the Great was the one that made the decree. Then there were two other kings after him, then Darius the Great. So during the time of Darius the Great, they were rebuilding the second temple. And Zechariah says, escape, O Zion, those that dwell in the daughter of Babylon. The same daughter of Babylon is in Revelation 18. We have to understand who Babylon is, who these other nations are, who we are, and where our true homeland is, because that's how we're going to connect the dots and be able to escape what's coming. Because Christ told us in Luke, I think it's Luke or Matthew 21 at the end, he said, pray ye always that ye may be counted worthy to escape all the things that are going to come to pass. And as a Christian, I just read the whole chapter. All these things is coming is not good. And I actually remember the rapture. Well, Christ is going to rapture us. That's what it says. My mama said that. But then at the end of the chapter, Christ concludes. He says, pray that you're worthy to escape. Where are we escaping from? Christ, you're coming to get us. Why would we need to escape when you're coming to rapture us up? But Christ tells us to pray that we're worthy to escape. Escape what? The tribulation that's coming to the world. But Babylon is going to get her double whammy. And we need to bunker down. If we're going to be in Babylon, you better get ready, make a plan, prepare. And if you want to leave Babylon, start planning, preparing to get back to Africa. And they're going to give you a hard time with these visas and these permanent residency permits. But that's all part of the way to discourage the children of Israel from coming back to the motherland, the same way they did the UNIA and Marcus Garvey in 1919, when they shut him down and issued him mail fraud charges, put him in jail, and that was all she wrote.
And then all of a sudden now Biden wants to go ahead and give him a what they call it, pardon.
Pardon.
Yeah. Pardon after all these years. Answer this one quick question. Somebody wrote in real quick. Give you a minute to answer this. Can you see it on the screen?
No. Okay. So the true Cushites are the Nilotes in South Sudan, like the Dinka, the Shilluk, the Anahuac, the Nuba, the tall, dark-skinned people. They're the real Cushites. They have the Y DNA A3B2. The people we say today are Ethiopians. They're a mixture of Shemitic people and then some Hamitic people. And, like 2/3 of the population of Ethiopia is the Habesha people. It's the Amharics, the Oromo, and the Tigrayans and the Ethiopian Jews. And you got Eritrea in the north. So a lot of their DNA is going to be from Arabia and Yemen and the Sabaeans, and then mixed in with the Israelites. So you see E1B1A, E1B1A2, E1B1B, J1, and you're going to see this in their DNA, because the current day Ethiopia country we have is a term that comes from a Greek word. Ethiops is a Greek word. Cush is the Hebrew word. Nubia is a Greek word between Egypt and Sudan. So we can't be confused, because Go Black, in the old maps, Ethiopia was like that area further south beyond the equator. And then you had Abyssinia, you had Egypt, you had Nubia, and then that big landmass that I guess they didn't know what to call it. They just called it Ethiopia. And then they changed Abyssinia to modern day Ethiopia. So the true Cushites are the Nilotes that are Cushitic. They're not Israelites. They're Hamitic, and their dialect is Hamitic.
Appreciate that, brother. Well, hey, man, shalom to you, brother, and safe travels with you and your family on y'all next journey when y'all go out. And definitely, man, when I come to South Africa, man, we got to hook up. Show me what you got going on. And also next time we'll talk about that land that you are acquiring down there to build a village for the diaspora there in South Africa.
Okay. Yeah, I got you.
All right, brother. Peace and blessings. I'm gonna go ahead and end with the family. All right, family. Hey, I appreciate each and every one of y'all. We got 1,550 people rather in this right here. I want y'all to continue to go ahead and watch the videos that I have coming out. Just bringing awareness, even the ones that you may not think is interesting. There's a message behind it. Please watch every video, because in the video, my last 2 videos didn't even do well. And I'm like, that concrete. When you hear a European talk about the fall of America, I did 2 videos of economists talking about the fall of America. It's here. They lied to you. This is their plan. You know, this is coming down the pike. When Biden said last year the next COVID virus would be a famine, we have to understand that the power of the mouth brings forth that you say. It is a written law. So these people are coming out speaking these things. That what's going to happen? How do we prepare ourselves? You know, you better go to the Most High, because the Most High is the one who's going to, you know, help and assist you to go through those things that we are going to endure. You know, so my thing is that watch each video, because even though it may not be of your interest, there are gold nuggets in it. Listen what these people are saying. Listen. And when you listen, you equip yourself, prepare yourself, and then you're not one with the head in the sand, lost, don't know how to navigate through what's going on. So with that, family, it's been a blessing. Thank you for each and every one of you all for your beautiful prayers during this time of my health issues that I've been going through. Got some good news. Got my blood work back. The actual plasma cells have been brought down to their normal level right now. It's only been 2. That was my two therapies already. I've already talked to one of my doctors. He told me you don't even need to take this other drug. And so I'm just going to wait and see with the one I'm currently with, the doc, to see what is their next course of action. Because as long as my markers went down, they call it a positive response. And that in itself shows that my body was able to respond to the treatment and to be able to destroy those plasma cells that were deformed, which was depositing proteins in my intestines, which will eventually cause havoc in my, you know, being able to absorb nutrients, being able to create, you know, a stool, a rightful stool, all these things, you know, that, you know, this protein will do in your body. And so I appreciate y'all's prayers. Appreciate, man, you guys' kind words. Appreciate y'all who finance people to be sending money. I mean, man, I'm just thankful to the Most High that people have found it in me to be a voice, be a voice and an awareness to people who may be looking for answers. And I've got to keep my vow with the Most High that I got to get into showing that we are part of the 12 tribes of Israel. And watch my live tomorrow. Brother Ariella, who is one of many young brothers out on the streets, man, bringing forth the scriptures. These guys are young, and to see these young brothers, they come from out of criminal backgrounds. They're coming from, you know, used to be on drugs and all that, and now they're talking about following the God's commandments and being a rightful man and be right with your family and children, your wife, and all this, you know. And the topic's going to be proving that we are coming, how in scripture that we are the tribe of Judah. And this brother is a scholar, young brother, 30 something, I think. You know, he might be a little younger, I don't know. But this guy is a scholar, and he's going to rip that Bible open. Many of us who used to be Christians, or those who still are in the Christianity, I'm telling you, you bring your book and your pad. Do not try to come and use your own knowledge to try to rebuke. Just be a listener. Take the notes, then go back and research it. It's proven. We've been lied to. I'm going to be doing a video, me burning my biblical studies and theology bachelor's degree, because we were taken down a road of lies by those who only painted a picture of how they wanted to interpret scripture and saying that we were so-called the outside of who God's children were. Once I started to listen more, and months and almost a year's gone by, and I had to research and research. I had to renew my mind in these scriptures. I said, oh my God, how do I miss all that? How in the world? Well, it was the material that was given me through the books that you followed and you quizzed and you took tests on, and it indoctrinated me. And I'm believing the very thing that some of these preachers, pastors, bishops, and ministers are fighting these guys against about what scripture is, because it's a stronghold. It's a stronghold in our psyche. We went to their schools, the colleges. We go on their jobs. They train us. They give us policies and procedures. We follow their laws. We do all these things. And yet we believe it and then fight against our own who are trying to show you the truth. So tomorrow, 7 p.m., please watch and be here and watch the interview. It's going to be on point. This is your man, not your boy, bringing you another gold nugget that you can either pick up or you can just kick it aside. I'm out. Peace and blessings, family.